From illegal 1.20 blocks to furniture that looks modded, these are 209 Minecraft build hacks I can guarantee you didn't know. This may look like a magical optical illusion, but it's actually just a bunch of stairs and slabs placed in this special way. You can place coral fans on trapdoors like this to make colorful lily pads. Lanterns can also be placed below lily pads to make them glow at night. And you can finish up your pond by placing hanging roots below stained glass to add jellyfish. If you want to show off how rich you are, how about building a huge quartz grand piano? If you place dragon heads on armor stands below some stairs, the ears will pop out and look like keys. You can make rope bridges by building up fences and then attaching leads to them. Oh, don't worry about him. This also works to make balloons. Yay! Ladders can be placed on trapdoors to make extra thin ladders that don't take up much room. And if you're really clever, you can use this to make double-sided ladders by using a layout like this. Waterlogged blocks completely break the game. Lily pads can be placed on any block that's waterlogged, creating illegal-looking setups like this. But you can make it look even weirder by placing sugarcane next to the lily pads. Another build hack is this weird new flower. Because this thing is 2 blocks tall when it's fully grown, you can put string above it to keep it at its 3rd stage, and use it to look like a weird, overgrown potato in your farms. A lot of the time, the builds you make look like they've been thrown into the world randomly and look super out of place. To fix this, try making shadows by placing slightly darker blocks near overhangs or edges. You can even add mossy blocks around trees to act as fallen leaves. The inside of a mangrove log looks suspiciously like a nice piece of juicy meat. Moving on. Using some lightning rods, armor stands, and a campfire, you can make a super tasty looking hog roast. And if you think this flame is too big, you can place an armor stand and lava underneath for a much tamer flame. If you've ever tried to use crops like wheat as decoration, you've probably run into this problem. However, this illegal build hack will fix that. Water can actually hydrate dirt across thin air, letting you make things like these garden pots without visible water. Try using an upside down lightning rod with a candle placed on top to make a weirdly tall torch. It won't be quite as bright, but hey, you can stand on the edge of the rod for some reason. Everyone loves a good explosion, so here's a way to make a totally invisible and instant landmine. Just place a bunch of TNT minecarts on some powered rails like this and hook them up to a skog sensor right next to them. Sneak away and you've got the best hidden way to protect your house. Isn't it so crazy? Ah! My house! But if you want a slightly less destructive method of protection, it's time to hire some soldiers. Bees will actually stay aggravated permanently, meaning if you trap a bunch below the floor in your base and rig them up to release when any intruders enter, they'll swarm them instantly and even chase them down for miles. Let's be honest though, you don't want anyone in your base at all. So it's time to up the security. With just a couple chains and walls, you can create a cool looking fence, but add some magma blocks covered in moss below and it will actually turn into an electrified laser fence. It works too. If you're standing on the magma, you can't actually break the chain before you die. And if you're super rich, try building this design with iron bars, cobwebs, and magic potion dispensers below the ground. If you rig this tripwire up to shoot damage potions, it'll really send a message to robbers. And it's a cool piece of decoration too. A great way to protect your base from both mobs and players is to hide pufferfish underground around your base. Moss carpets are a super easy way to sneak them into your decoration, and waterlogging even allows you to hide them in bushes and trees. Ow! Oh god, I'm getting flashbacks! If you're feeling really mean though, the best way to deal with thieves isn't to kill them, but trap them permanently. Using a simple piston trap, you can force a player into a bubble elevator like this, surrounded in obsidian. Due to the bubbles pushing them around, it'll be almost impossible to mine it even with a pickaxe. This illegal machine lets you open a door simply by taking off a piece of armor. If you set it up exactly like I did here and turn this lectern to page 8, you'll create an undetectable illegal entrance that you shouldn't be able to build. Oh, it also activates when a ravager roars, but I think you've got bigger problems if that happens. If you're ever stranded at night surrounded by mobs, you can use a composter? But that's right, jumping inside a composter with a trapdoor on top protects you from skeletons, creepers, and all other mobs in a pinch, making this an illegal, completely portable base. But if you want a more permanent house that's just as quick to build, try bone mealing a red mushroom, chucking a floor in, adding some decorations, and you've got a perfect little fairy tale house that definitely wasn't meant to be a base. If you hide a leashed chicken underground, you can attach the lead to a fence and make what kind of looks like a floating balloon house. You can add some actual balloons up top, and you've basically got the house from up. You know those little waterfalls that come out of mountains? They're perfect for secret entrances. Just break one block behind the source and dig down a little, and then you're free to build anything you want down there. Just be careful not to place any lights too close to the entrance, because that looks sus. If you use invisible item frames with the fake block trick from before, you can create one-way glass that you can use to secretly spy on all of your friends. This one definitely feels illegal. Uh-oh. It was a creeper! Glowstone and sea lanterns are things of the past. Instead, try placing turtle legs on top of end rods to make a lampshade. By placing an armor stand with a chainmail helmet inside a block like this, you can add a pressure plate on top and make a cool decorative chessboard. You can't play it though, not that I even know how. If you place food on an item frame below a pressure plate, looks like it's being served on a dinner plate. Most people make castle gates, they're called portcullises by the way. Most people make portcullises with fences or walls, but the lecterns make a perfect and super unique version instead. Plain block walls can look boring, so try adding extra blocks of similar colors for more texture. This coupled with glass panes placed like this can make a room much more interesting. You could also just use wall blocks as they're literally made for building walls. You can even mix a type of wall round for extra variety. This also works for adding texture to outside walls. And finally, might be a good use for the brick block. People have been using cobwebs for chimney smoke since the dawn of time, so instead you can use coral fans to create a similar but more interesting effect. Alternatively, you could use a campfire to make actual animated smoke to bring a little bit of life to your builds. But my favorite use for campfires is to place them under the floor in any of my spookier builds, lake, a cave, or a graveyard. The smoke will rise up and make fog dust mysterious and, honestly, a little claustrophobic! Most of us know now that you can make a birdcage by simply just pushing some glass on top of a parrot. But come on, doesn't that feel cruel? Instead, give them some room to breathe with a hanging scaffolding cage like this. And to make sure our little friend is as happy as can be, try making this advanced bird bath. Place an armor stand with a helmet on top of 3 layers of snow. Then push a floor block and the wall down from above and finish with a slab and some signs. A netherite helmet might work better for some designs, but that's expensive. I think I'll just stick to leather. The most illegal item in all of vanilla Minecraft has to be the debug stick. You can only get it with commands, but it lets you do all sorts of crazy, weird things that literally feel like hacks. You can make strange beds with no pillows, white grass, cursed flower bushes, and even floating water. And pow! I'm outside your window. My favorite build hack to use the debug stick for, though, is to just add a little more interest to my creative builds. You can turn this strange and boring bamboo farm into something cool looking by connecting the fence and adding leaves to the bamboo. It's literally magic. Beehives kind of look like empty storage containers, so you can use them for extra decoration in a cluttered storage room or attic. They also work great as drawers or a bedside table. You can make any English letter in a 4x3 space using different combinations of slabs and stairs. This chart by Cookie Dough Bread shows you exactly to spell out anything you want super easily. There are tons of ways to add tiny details to your builds in Minecraft, but one of my favorites is this method of making footprints. Just chuck some invisible item frames down and then place some stake in them. All of a sudden, you've got some weirdly convincing looking footsteps. Let's be honest though, one of the best ways to protect your base is to just hide it really well. So next time you're feeling too lazy to set up tons of traps on your turf, try heading to a snowy biome and hiding it like this. Pick a random snow-covered block and place a few scaffolding below it. Then dig 2 holes either side, add a bubble elevator in one, and now you have an invisible base that you can even crouch around in to hide your name tag. That's if you can remember where you put it, which, let's be honest, I can't. Mobs have got way better at pathfinding compared to how they used to be, but they still have some issues. For some reason, they still don't see carpets as blocks. So if you fill a pit like this with them, you're totally protected from mobs. 2 tall flowers like sunflowers and roses work for this too. If you're like me and can never remember where you put your secret entrances, try this out. Shulker boxes are a great way to sort your items. But if I jump on top of this one and open it, suddenly I'm in my second secret base. For some reason, you can fall through shulker boxes if there's a block above your head, allowing for a perfect entrance that you can even color code and use as storage. Everyone knows zombies love turtle eggs, or hate them, I guess. But you can actually use this to protect your base. With just a single turtle egg and a trapdoor, you can create this super simple zombie trap that will kill every zombie nearby for you for almost no cost. And for even more detail in these buildings, try using this square character to make it look like signs are nailed down. This works really well for boarding up doors and windows. You can even use spruce trapdoors placed on the ground to give the effect that a door was broken down. Waterlogged stairs can be used to make tiny creeks that wind throughout your buildings, but a more practical use for them is to add water sources to your farms that you can't fall into. Animation is the best way to make any building come alive, and the absolute easiest way to do this is to hide a spore blossom somewhere. They create a bunch of these tiny little green particles that are just so pretty. Sometimes the flames from fire and campfires are just way too big, so instead try putting an armor stand below ground and lava for a much smaller and way cuter little flame. Oh, look at it, so tiny. By placing banners below stair blocks, you can make couches with cushions. This also works for beds and comfy chairs. If you want to be able to actually use your chairs, you can push a stair or slab into a minecart and you'll be able to sit in it. And if you want chairs to put outside, campfires make great benches coupled with signs and trapdoors. They also work great in log piles to add extra detail in the form of tiny tiny little logs or sticks, as some people call them. I also like to add barrels, fences, and slabs to these to add extra detail and storage to a survival build like this. Unfortunately, you can only get invisible item frames in creative, but there's sort of a solution in survival. If you place a block in an item frame on the floor, a snow layer will fully cover up the item frame but leave the block exposed, allowing you to, I don't know, make pebbles or something? You know how to make a birdcage? How about an aquarium? This one's actually even easier, but probably just as cruel. All you have to do is surround a chest with trapdoors, place a glass block on top, then waterlog the chest with a bucket of fish, and boom! You've trapped him forever. Sorry, fishy. Cobwebs aren't just good for making a cave or mineshaft feel extra creepy. They're also good for adding custom smoke to chimneys and for adding a net to a basketball hoop. Most people know you can make a really convincing dead tree with stripped logs and mangrove roots. So instead, try creating a dead warped tree with muddy mangrove roots, dead coral, and hanging roots. Oh yeah, muddy mangrove roots with a candle on top makes a pretty convincing rotten melon if you ever need that for some reason. Rooted dirt finally gave us another dirt block that's not just gonna turn into grass instantly, giving us way more decoration options. One of my favorite ways to use this is to mix rooted and coarse dirt in a pattern like this to make wheel tracks through a forest. Unfortunately, snowmen don't do damage to mobs with their attacks, but they will push them back and get their attention. If you spread a bunch of them out in tall towers around your base, they'll totally stop any mobs from attacking you and keep you safe. And if it's players you're worried about, try swapping a snowman out for a skeleton and adding fire around it to create a truly spicy surprise for any intruders. I think the most underrated item in 1.20 is the calibrated skog sensor. When you place an amethyst block next to it, it'll relay any signal it gets to any other nearby sensors. Using this, you can create essentially infinite wireless redstone that's only activated by certain noises in certain places. So if I eat this piece of food here, the sensors will relay the signal along and teleport me using this Ender Pearl stasis machine. This will make your base literally impossible to find. You should know that if you're playing on hard mode, a door probably isn't enough to keep you safe from zombies. So instead, try placing 2 end rods like this as a door instead. You can slide through perfectly, but mobs have a really hard time. And if end rods aren't your style, this works with bamboo, different kinds of fences, and even lightning rods. But I'll be careful using these in bad weather. These do have a slight drawback though, as if you manage to anger enough mobs, it can push each other through. So for an entrance that's almost foolproof, add a line of cobblestone walls with some carpets on top. Not even spiders can get past. Using maps and item frames, you can build huge 2D replicas of fake blocks and create super detailed hidden entrances you can use to hide almost anything. Check out this desert. See anything wrong? There's actually 2 hidden bases here, one inside this cactus and one behind this sand block. All you need to do is place the maps inside an item frame placed on a sign, and your base is suddenly invisible. You can actually make a base in the void. Sure, you can't place blocks down here, even in creative mode, but there's an illegal workaround. Using a chicken, leads, and boats. You can spawn shulkers down here and walk on them as if they're normal blocks. They'll even use levitation to send you back up. Look, all of us have wanted to live inside a video game at one point, and with some glass, terracotta, and buttons, you can. Imagine seeing this while playing on your Nintendo Switch. Hang on, I think I'm trapped! Let me out! Let me out! Huh? Oh god, that's even worse! This base can't be blown up, even with 1000 TNT. Surrounding your base with waterlogged stairs makes it completely protected from all explosions, including creepers, completely going against what Notch intended. Sorry, bro. Most people use fences, slabs, or iron bars for balcony railings. But come on, I'm too short! I can't see over! Instead, try adding carpets on top of barriers to create this sleek, modern railing that you can actually see past. If you want to do this in survival, you can use string instead for the same effect. This trick also works to hide lighting blocks in your roof. Yeah, just ignore the cobwebs up there. They stop the roof falling down. Looms kind of look like empty bookshelves, so you can mix in a few to make it look like you actually read. If you want to add more life to a hedge, you can place sunflowers and invisible item frames to add flowers. Drip leaves also work really well as a natural archway if you need a way through. And of course, a garden isn't complete without a lawn, especially one of those weird stripy ones that rich people all seem to have for some reason. If you want to do the same, use lines of grass and moss to make it look realistic and perfectly mown. But if you want to do the opposite and make a barren, dead landscape, mangrove roots and spruce fences make a great dead bush that's much better looking than this. You can also use mangrove roots with stripped bark to make a dead tree, and basalt works perfectly to use in burned down forests. Also, for some reason, you can place fish and axolotls in waterlogged mangrove roots, which is just cruel. Why on earth is this a thing? Did you know that mob heads fit perfectly on top of wall blocks? Skeleton skulls also match really well with andesite or diorite walls, zombie skulls with mossy cobble, and wither skulls with deep slate walls. I don't know what you could use this for other than making gravestones, but hey, you again! Stop taking my job! The nerve of some people. Anyway, ever wanted to play pool in Minecraft? Well, you can't, sorry to disappoint. But you can make a pretty cool looking pool table by placing signs like this underneath green carpets and then surrounding it with trapdoors. But for a build hack you can use, try building this hammock. Hook it up using fence gates on the side, then attach some stairs, trapdoors to place the bed on, and some signs to complete the shape. You can even change the bed color to match the wood type for peak color coordinated comfort. Banners can be used to add illegal levels of detail in builds. But they're not just for marking maps or making a crappy coat of arms. Take Nick's J-Man's incredible train build he made using banners to perfectly match the real-life version. If people are literally making real trains now, what's your excuse? Decoys are the #1 best way to help hide your base, and you can even cover them with traps. Try building this water drop chute somewhere obvious, but add a tripwire halfway down. As soon as it triggers, this piston pushes a block over, leaving the thief in a very unfortunate situation. Another way to create a great decoy is with paintings. If you cover a wall with all sorts of paintings, an intruder is always going to try and just walk on through. However, if you build this setup, you can totally trick them, as a real entrance requires throwing an item in here and being squished through this trapdoor. It's quite sophisticated, just like my art collection. Yes. All these methods are quite expensive though. If you want the cheapest possible way to protect your base, try literally just placing boats all the way around it. When it turns nighttime, any mobs that try to attack will get stuck in them and serve as a defense against players. Another super cheap method of defense is to just wire up a super annoying noise to start playing as soon as someone enters. When this door is opened, an observer gets pushed over here and triggers all these blocks over and over, creating a circuit that will drive a thief crazy and even work as a perfect alarm system. Trapdoors and chains make perfect hanging chairs for garden or parks, and flower pots attached to chains look like hanging plants. But sometimes the chains that we have in the game just don't look like enough to hold up our big builds. So instead, try linking a bunch of grindstones like this. That looks much more stable. Pathways are super important for tying a village together. So instead of just using gravel and cobblestone, try using andesite and even dead coral blocks for extra variety and texture. The same goes for floors. Mud mixed with brown mushrooms and terracotta makes an awesome floor for muddy farms. Barrels and spruce planks look great for a creaky attic floor. And beehives are a super interesting block to use for the floor of a cute little cottage you've built. You can also try using blast furnaces, cartography tables, and a bunch of other blocks to make unique and interesting floor designs. Be creative with it. Dripstone makes an awesome trunk for a palm tree. And you can even use conduits to add coconuts, at least if you squint. Think candles are just another light source? Here's a bunch of reasons why you're wrong. Firstly, you can make a pond plant called a cattail by placing a green candle on a glass pane. An end rod plus a candle, redstone torch, or iron bar makes a perfect sword replica. It's always annoyed me that lanterns can't float, but with the help of candles, they can. Damn, it kinda looks like Hogwarts in here. Red candles look suspiciously like tiny sticks of dynamite that you can mix with TNT for more detail in your cave builds. Cacti in real life often have pretty pink flowers on top. And you guessed it, pink candles perfectly replicate this. Building a computer on your computer is a classic for Minecraft. So when you've set up your painting and pressure plate, try using a candle in an item frame instead of a button as your mouse. It looks scarily accurate. And finally, grey candles and skeleton skulls on a stone wall make a really cool design. A waterlogged leaf block on top of a fence, all walls look suspiciously like a globe.
But Mallow, the Earth isn't square!
Well, actually, pow! See? Think building like a pro is difficult? Think again and watch this. If you're building walls like this, you're doing it all wrong. Instead, grab some blocks that are similar and scatter them around a bit. You can use stairs to add extra depth and even add patterns in front to make it extra interesting. And just like that, you're leveling up your building super easily. The same goes for floors, both inside and out. Spending a couple minutes making a block palette can add tons of detail, like adding beehives in with oak planks, brown mushrooms in with mud, and moss in with grass outside. There's tons of ways to make supersized versions of different foods in Minecraft. Obviously, you can use a sea pickle for a melon or pumpkin stem, but you can also put a mangrove propagule on top of a mangrove log for a bulbous beetroot, a warped vine on some honeycomb for a peculiar pineapple, and a sea pickle on a nether wart block for a tomato. For extra farm decoration, you can add barrels full of berries by placing coral blocks above water surrounded by trapdoors. This works with raw iron to make potato barrels, and you can even try making a larger version with crimson planks below as a grape stomping barrel outside a vineyard. Looms are one of the weirdest looking blocks in the game, but you can actually use them to make empty bookshelves, escalators, air conditioning units outside buildings, and cool looking roofs for your house. And if it's a detailed bookshelf you're going for, 1.20 added this secret way to put a 3D book model on a shelf. Just add an armor stand under the block you want like this, and place a leather helmet with a white coast armor trim applied. Push a block down from above and it'll look exactly like a spare book left out on the table. But sometimes players aren't just trying to steal your loot, they're out for blood, so an alarm system just won't cut it. To truly fortify your base, try building your base using stairs placed like this. If you fill them with water, it won't spill everywhere, and it makes your entire base completely completely resistant to TNT, stopping raiders and creepers in their tracks. And if you want to take this to the next level, try placing a line of observers below the outside blocks hooked up to TNT. These will trigger as soon as the stairs are broken, blowing the raiders up instantly while your base sits there totally unharmed. Remember back in the old days of the game when the best traps just involved placing gravel above signs? Well, these got 1,000 times better with scaffolding. Now, instead of spending ages placing signs perfectly, you can just place a layer of scaffolding hooked up to a piston, stick some carpets above it, and as soon as it's triggered, it'll plunge any players and their loot directly into this pit of lava. The most difficult part of creating a secret base is trying to hide the entrance, so try this idea out. Build a regular wheat or potato farm above wherever you want your base to be. Then break a block behind a crop like this and hide a button in there. Not only is this almost impossible to see, but nobody will ever suspect this lovely little farm being the place you hide all your valuable gear. However, you can also just place string on top of walls to add a tiny piece of extra detail. You can place bushes, bamboo, cactus, or propagules in a flower pot below leaves to emulate trunks and stem for plants. And adding vines to these leaves adds a little bit of texture that stops these plants from looking too plain. Oh, I felt like I should remind you that the muddy mangrove root block exists. Why? Did you know that the best Minecraft builders actually get given a special custom cape by Mojang to show off how good they are? It's called the Realms Cape, and you can only get it if 3 or more of your maps have been accepted and used by Mojang themselves. And it looks way better than your Gucci jacket, mate. Dried kelp blocks look strangely like trash bags. Banners sway very subtly in the wind, which means you can use a specific banner design with trapdoors to make it look like they're a pair of blinking eyes. You can do the same with item frames to make flashing lights. Are regular carpets too boring for you? First of all, what's your problem? Carpets are awesome and fluffy and incredible, but secondly, you can use coral fans on waterlogged slabs to make more interesting 3D cool colorful carpets. Alternatively, you can place crimson or warped signs underneath to make different patterns, but they look best when you mix in lots of different blocks and techniques to add variety in both texture and depth. This works for bookshelves too. Beehives, stairs, looms, and more all work great to add extra interest and variety. Have you ever realized that frog lights look kind of like those paper lanterns people release on different holidays? Oh, this gives me an idea. Just add some hanging roots below and you've destroyed the environment. I made a beautiful light show. Yes. Here's how to make your pond 10 times better super easily. With waterlogged blocks, you can create detailed rocks in your pond with stairs and slabs that add a little extra detail and even give you a cool way to get across. Next, instead of the normal boring lily pads we have, try creating your own using 4 drip leaves and some flowering azalea leaves to make a big colorful lily pad. You can also use a bamboo trapdoor with pink candles on top if you're living in the future. And lastly, if it's a really big pond you're trying to decorate, try doing something similar with drip leaves, lily pads, and azalea leaves to create a huge floating algae mat. It's kinda gross though, doesn't smell good either. Oh wait, that's just me, my bad. Back in the alpha days of Minecraft, there used to be way less blocks and almost no ways to properly decorate your builds. This meant people had to create their own solutions. Since trapdoors didn't exist, people used to glitch regular doors into looking like trapdoors by breaking the bottom half of the cactus, finally letting them actually decorate their world just as Notch intended. Minecart rails also have the same effect, and you can make cool patterns out of them. But they have a second effect I think is even more interesting. For some reason, mobs see rails as completely impassable objects and won't ever walk over them. So if you surround your base with a railway, it'll be completely safe from the horrors of the outside world, and you get a fun little roller coaster too. Even though zombies can knock down doors with these, for some reason they're completely stopped by trapdoors. And given we can easily hop on all fours and crawl beneath, this simple setup works perfectly as a door that zombies have absolutely no hope of breaking down. Eating a chorus fruit will teleport you to a random nearby block, even if that block is maybe on the other side of a wall. So if you head underground and build a tunnel like this, making sure to place carpets on the ground, you can build a base on the other side of the wall that can be instantly entered by simply eating a chorus fruit. However, I think the best possible secret entrance is one that I've never seen anybody use. Simply dying can teleport you tens of thousands of blocks away depending on where you set your spawn. So you can make an underground obsidian bunker far away from anything else, store your items in an ender chest, and instantly teleport there. Then you can build a machine like this to obstruct your spawn point for 60 seconds and instantly respawn at 0-0 again. But the most powerful defense method of all that allows you to be completely and utterly safe from all mobs in the game is to just simply put it to peaceful mode. Absolutely nothing could... Huh? What's that? Oh no, it can't be. Ah! Oh god, subscribe! We all know about chains, and I mentioned a way to make much bigger chains with grindstones in my last build hacks video. But if you need something a little smaller, try facing 2 sets of trapdoors into each other like this. To create a wooden chain, you can even change the color of. Buttons placed in invisible items on logs look suspiciously like bugs crawling all over it. Bugs that, by the way, you cannot eat. Do not, under any circumstances, ever eat the bugs. Ever! Speaking of bugs, in Bedrock Edition, you can place buttons on the top and bottom of fences, allowing for extra decoration. But in Java version, you can't do either. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is a bug or not, but it's still kind of annoying. Red and yellow candles make really good ketchup and mustard bottles for a diner or bar. And green candles are perfect replicas of beer. Wait, did someone say beer? Surrounding a bed with slabs makes it look kind of like a sleeping bag. But I've always thought the regular bed was quite small, so instead of just placing one down and leaving it at that, try making a bigger custom one like this. Also, I made these pillows with snow layer blocks. They look so soft. This layout of campfires, trapdoors, and hopper minecarts looks like a stovetop. And if you place a dragon head backwards, it kind of works perfectly as a toaster. Although I don't know if I'd want to eat that grey bread. But if you'd rather just cheat, you can use custom texture packs to change block designs for super detailed and useful new blocks. And if you want to go all the way, custom mob heads offer literally infinite possibilities for extra detail, like cakes, kitchen appliances, and smaller versions of blocks we already have. You can mix these in with blocks like iron bars to make things like CCTV cameras, but a skeleton head will work fine for this in a pinch. Oh, and if you've made a TV or computer somewhere in your house, backwards with the skeleton heads make great speakers. Sure, chests work fine, but campfires make for way cooler food storage. You could also take it one step further and use invisible item frames to hang fish off chains like this. Gold ore looks like honey that's dripped onto the floor. And gilded blackstone looks the same, but for lava instead. You can use stairs and slabs to add extra texture to walls like missing bricks, and to create holes as if it's crumbling and degrading. But if you're really dedicated to decoration, you can make maps with any design you want to, and then fill item frames up with them for custom wallpaper. Just stick to texture packs though. That's a lot of effort. You can easily set up a daylight sensor next to a bell to make a simple, functioning alarm clock. Alternatively, hook this up to arrow and healing dispensers next to a dog that shoot every morning for the rest of time. If you want something even less suspicious, try breaking a hole beneath a lava pool and placing some water like this, and building your base down here. Lava pools are totally natural and nobody ever touches them on a server, making them the perfect place to slip into, even if it is a little painful. The only other place in the entire game that mobs can't spawn is actually an ocean temple. It's true, the game is coded so that only guardians can spawn in them, meaning that if you remove all the water, absolutely no mobs will spawn nearby. You're gonna need a lot of sponges or a massive machine, but at the end you're left with a pre-built mob-free paradise. But if you'd rather not do all that work, there are ways to completely mob-proof your base easily. Not only do slabs basically double the amount of blocks you have for floors and roofs, but mobs can't spawn on bottom slabs, meaning even if your house is pitch black, nothing will be able to spawn inside. You could even add soul sand below and use soul speed to run around your house super quickly. It's kind of annoying Minecraft's water can only ever be 1 block wide, meaning you can't make small droplets or tiny streams very easily. However, blue glass panes work as a perfect substitute for cases like this. The same goes for ice. How do we have ice and dripstone but no icicles? Well, maybe it's because Mojang knows that light blue glass panes do the job perfectly, but come on, I can't take out zombies with them, so what's even the point? Whenever you're building a hedge in your world, try placing quadzole beneath the leaves. This both acts like a shadow, but also kind of looks like leaf litter or mulch beneath the hedge. I really like the word mulch, by the way. Mulch. Wait, what are we doing? Oh yeah, build hacks. Did you know you can place nether plants like crimson fungus or warped roots outside of the nether? What's really weird is that you can only place them on grass or dirt, not cobblestone. This is super weird to me because netherrack and cobble seem most similar to me. But I guess now we know netherrack is just like hard dirt. What? My head hurts. Now think about it. If you can remove all the mobs in your world, there's no need to protect your base. So how on earth do you do that? Well, as usual, Lamango has a solution. If you create this super simple warden farm, you can use note blocks to lure dozens of wardens into this prison with a vine inside. Eventually, so many wardens will spawn that it prevents any mob from spawning anywhere in the entire world. However, this is terrifying, and there's a much easier way to get basically the same effect. Simply grab a boat and spend some time looking for a mushroom island. Other than the deep dark, which has other problems, this is the only place mobs won't spawn naturally. And it's the perfect backdrop to build an awesome fantasy base. They can be quite hard to find, but you can always use a seed map if you're feeling devious. If you've got a cramped house like this one and you're trying to figure out where to put the ladder, try placing a line of trapdoors like this and putting the ladders on them. Alternatively, if you're creative, try using the debug stick to create floating ladders that take up even less space. Now that's ingenuity. Here's a cool way to make an armor stand look like it's holding a sword. Start by placing an end rod with a candle on top, then pushing an armor stand into it from behind. Then put some armor on it and push 2 blocks down behind it, and you have your very own knight in shining armor. And since you're obviously building a sick castle if you make this, you can make awesome ornate carpets using a combination of shulker boxes and glazed terracotta. Hey, I don't want to hear anything about how expensive shulkers are. You own a castle! As long as the colors are similar, it really doesn't matter how you lay out carpet. It'll look cool either way. If you're trying to make a dark, creepy cave, try adding shadowy cracks with signs inside. If you add this character to them, dye it red and add a glow ink sac. It'll create these super scary looking eyes that glow in the darkness. Come on, Grandma, take a look. Ah! Speaking of, nether wart blocks make a fantastic blood substitute. For city builders, try placing a campfire below a loom to simulate a vent. This same technique also works for a barbecue grill. 1.20 already has me hyped. Check out these new bamboo blocks they're giving us. You can use these mosaic blocks to make cool floor patterns. And these new chiseled bookshelves for a new wall design. Maybe mix in other wooden blocks again to make it even more interesting. Sea pickles look kind of like pumpkin stems. And a stripped mangrove log, flower pot, and mangrove propagule put together makes a really big beetroot for farm decoration. But if that's not enough, try adding kegs made of trapdoors with raw iron in for potatoes and coral blocks in for berries and grapes. This works for other things too, like using a respawn anchor and trident instead to make a spooky animated witch's cauldron. Item frames and signs can actually be placed on the same block, letting you double label chests. You can even dye the sign for extra customization. Scaffolding makes a perfect table to put flower pots or other decorations on. Sometimes the only thing your build is missing is just a little bit of detail, and often buttons are the best solution to this. Whether it's dotting them around your roof and walls or chucking them next to a pond as pebbles, they're perfect for adding a little bit of extra interest. They make great fidget toys too. If you're looking for an extra block or color to add somewhere to your build, the answer is probably in a stripped log. Their textures are super simple, but with mangrove, jungle, acacia, and warped logs, there's tons of different and interesting colors to choose from. 6 lecterns placed like this look suspiciously like a coffin that's been broken out of. This pairs perfectly with a gravestone made of soul soil, anvils, and a wither skeleton skull. Where could this guy have gone? Ah! Subscribe!